Hello, everyone. Welcome to Muskoka Unlimited Podcast. This is the very first episode we are airing on your TV, Muskoka. Our friends, James, Scott, everybody. It's just awesome. Samantha, because everybody knows Samantha. She's awesome. Before we get started, a little thank you to the Muskoka Unlimited Podcast sponsor for October and November, That Little Place by the Lights Italian Eatery in downtown Huntsville. With that all noted, let's do a big thank you to my guest, who's amazing and awesome, Autumn Smith. Thank you for coming.
Hey, thanks for having me. And Little Place by the Lights, like some of my favorite food.
There you go.
So good.
Awesome.
So good.
So Autumn is our first guest joining us for the Your TV video. The audio will also be on muskokaunlimited.com, and you can see other stories about Autumn and her production company, TimberBeast Productions, that we've done in the past and that we will do in the future. So, that being said, Autumn, show coming up, Souls of the Shield. What's going on with that? Let's talk about
it. It's big. You know what? It's a piece that I created last year. The first part of it I created last year, and we debuted in Lakeview Cemetery. I was called out as a witch and a Satanist. It was a good time. I mean, you know, in theater practices, we're called many things, but that was a first for me.
Wow.
It was great. I mean, the pieces, I've taken local ghost stories, so they combine history, our collective story from our ancestors and people who have inhabited this place in the past, and brought it into a new live theatrical experience. This year, it's debuting in 3 different towns.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm really excited. We have some amazing venue partners. I'm working once again with the town of Gravenhurst, and we are doing it inside the mortuary at Cemetery. Yeah, it's a space that is beautiful. It used to be used for internments, but hasn't been for a really long time. So it's just a space that's empty right now.
Gotcha.
It serves as a mortuary in the winter when the ground is too frozen, but it's a beautiful underused space. So I'm like, why don't we hold space there? And that way we're contained and not bothering neighbors. And I mean, if people still want to call me a witch, they can. It was great publicity last year. But you know, I really want to work in collaboration with the town and make things easy on them. And it's a beautiful space.
It is a beautiful space.
Turning it into a little theater, which
is
awesome. Fantastic.
And it's spooky. And it's a spooky theater.
Spooky. Yeah. It is kind of a spooky. It has a really disconcerting stained glass window, which if I can illuminate from the outside, I will try, because it's very daunting.
Gotcha.
But it's a really great space. So that space, we're actually doing 2 shows a night in Gravenhurst because it's so small. We can only fit about 40 people in there per show.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's our first weekend. We were also cognizant that it's getting colder.
Yeah.
The space might need to be used for other things.
Yes.
In November. So
like
so we're really cognizant.
Things.
Yeah, like what it's you know, designated for. But the town has been incredible. I did a deputation to the mayor and council, and they're also supportive of the work.
Yes.
Gravenhurst is a great place to live in and work in. So I'm
awesome.
Very grateful for them. So there's four pieces in the Gravenhurst. 3 are the same as last year, but we're expanding how we tell the stories, which is interesting. And we've expanded our cast. So we've added 2 or 3 more cast members.
Nice.
That all of them have worked with me before.
Yes.
One was in Citronella. 2 were in Citronella.
Okay, cool.
Citronella and the Stepmother. And then I have a phenomenal artist who I would work with any day of the week by the name of Kenneth Northfield.
Nice.
And he was in my 12th night when I did it at the Wharf last year. So
awesome.
they're coming back, so it's bigger, and it's more staged this year. It's actually going to have staging. Last year we did it as a reading.
Okay.
So it's fantastic. And um it's got one new piece that's added to it, which is about the POW, one of the POWs that died here
Okay.
when the Nazis were interned at Camp Calidor.
Yes.
So I've created a new piece about that narrative because it's a crucial part of our community's narrative.
Yes.
And I thought it would offer some good perspective, which is
Gotcha.
fun. And then we're going to Bracebridge the second week, which is November 2nd to 4th, and we're doing it at the falls outside.
Okay.
So we have the backdrop of both the falls and the inn.
Nice.
Because the inn is, I would say, technically the most haunted place in Muskoka.
Yeah, it's pretty haunted there.
It's the most, referred to in local lore, local haunted lore, right? So I've had a really great collaborative relationship with them where TimberBeast actually works with in to produce murder mysteries.
Okay, yes.
So yeah, so they're a really fantastic partner, and Bracebridge has its own set of 4 stories
Yeah.
that are all original works, musical creations. And they have in at the falls, we talk about the legacy of Bill Rattan,
Yeah.
was a notorious outlaw. And I mean, he's got such a complicated story. I feel for the guy. But it's fascinating. It's fascinating stuff. And then we talk about the ghosts at Woodchester.
Cool.
The Woodchester Villa, the birds.
Yep.
And we also have a story in there about the Torrance Crypt.
Very cool.
Which
Very
is really cool. And then our last segment is the Huntsville segment,
Yep.
which we are doing in front of either the Spence Hotel
Okay.
or the Hill House. Both.
Yes, yes, yes.
Again, very haunted.
Yeah.
But invoke a certain ghostly quality.
Yes.
And they're full of story. So, I mean, TimberBeast is really devoted to sharing the Muskoka story. So
that's awesome. And yes, you are sharing the Muskoka stories everywhere.
We're trying. We're trying. And the Huntsville one is it talks about the Spence Hotel. One of the rooms in the upstairs was devoted to a medical practice that apparently went very wrong.
Oh.
So I've written something about that.
Nice.
I've also written a piece for 2 Men about Divine Lake.
Okay.
Which is close to Huntsville. And Divine Lake, I don't know if many people know about this. There was a really phenomenal CBC documentary.
Okay. I haven't seen it.
Divine Lake and the AIDS crisis. Divine Lake Resort held hospice space for AIDS patients.
Oh.
And the locals, because they didn't know at the time, it was not a great experience.
Okay.
But they came together. The resort housed many people who needed care and just healing space. So I've written a piece about that, which I'm hoping to expand. That's a piece that I'm definitely looking to expand, possibly into a film or maybe into a larger theatrical telling.
Very cool.
And then, Huntsville also has a logging ghost, which is part of the original Gravenhurst series, about a woman looking for her son. And the last one, I'm drawing a blank, my own work here. What is that? The last one is about the ghosts at Fairy Lake.
Okay.
So the father that loses his wife and their unborn child to a flu, and with just the daughter. So it's a beautiful tale about family and grieving and resiliency. I mean, this place is full of resiliency. We're made of resilient people and
Yeah,
tenacity and
we definitely are.
strong stock, right? So, I
Yeah,
mean, there's 12 micro musicals
that's awesome.
that we're doing, which is insane and awesome. I feel very honored to be able to tackle this work and to live in this place that is so full of story and
There's so many stories. I'm
so
not gonna
many stories.
I'm not gonna go all into it, but
Mm.
my parents' house on Cliff Avenue is haunted.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, and not in a bad way. There's a mom and a daughter,
Oh my
and that like my sister has seen, I've heard, our dogs over the years have barked at, to the point where I yelled one night because it was just me, and it was just me actually. I was the only one in the house one night, and um, the it was Molly or Chelsea. I can't remember which sheepdog, but anyways, one of them just kept barking upstairs, and there was nothing, and it went all everywhere, and there was nothing. There was nothing outside. There was nothing. It just kept barking, and so finally, I was like, "Oh, okay." I was like, "Can you please be quiet and leave the dog alone?" And like within 2 seconds, the dog was quiet, lying beside me.
weird.
It was great. And there's other things like when my son, we were living in the basement apartment, which is like a walk out to the street, and my son Dante was maybe one and a half, two, and no, one and a half, one and a half, and he was like standing in his crib. Yeah, he had to be about one. He still had the crib, and he's like talking to somebody, like
Oh,
standing up, holding himself up, having a conversation. And then
yeah.
I open the door and come in, and then all he does is this and watches whoever he was talking to go through the ceiling.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was like, whoa, that was kind of like someone was visiting, right? And so
Amazing. Kids
there's
are,
all kinds of other cool stories that you and I should talk about. We should almost write them
yeah,
down and like have like a little story section, which would be
totally.
cool. Because there's other really cool stories. Like I'll get my sister involved, and we'll all sit down and chat because there's some really cool stories to share about that. And there's way more too. Like my wife's experienced it, like everybody, right? So, um, yeah, and
Yeah,
so
it's
it's
kind of
really
amazing.
it is really amazing, and it's like my sister's like it's a mom and a daughter. I've seen them. I've heard them. Like I've heard them talking and I've heard them whispering. My wife's heard them whispering. Um, but my sister's actually seen them. And so it's really interesting. But I just because we were on the topic. So it's like it
No, it brings up so many questions, like because there's so
does.
many people who don't believe in ghosts,
Yeah.
right? Or spirits, but
Mhm.
after after a substantial loss, like my mom died a year ago, a year and a
Yeah.
bit ago, and there's something hopeful in
True.
knowing that ghosts are present in
It's
whatever
true.
form they take, right?
It's true.
And there's a great poem that I use about infinite immensity, and there's just this idea of being allowed to wander in infinite space, but
Mhm.
also being present when needed
Yeah.
to keep people alive, right?
Yeah.
There's something comforting in that, and
100%.
um, I think that's what drew me to the work. I'm always interested in ghost stories,
For
because I'm
sure.
I'm a very nervous person around spiritual world and things like that. Like I come from a rooted tradition of storytellers and pagan descent, like
Nice.
Celts. So my grandmother used to have these mad visions of seeing people that she loved who had died.
Yeah.
And I was always like, please don't ever do that to me. Like I still don't know how I would handle it.
Yes.
My mother, when she was with us, had visions, and
Yes.
they all had visions. I don't have the visions, so maybe this is my own, idea of conjuring. But
Yeah.
it's the pieces are written in a very respectful, highly poetic sense. Like
For
I
sure.
really try to unearth stories and grief and family and resiliency of the people who first came to this place.
Yes.
It has, odes to the working class, which is embedded in my, DNA. My people are workers. Like
Yeah.
dad's a printer. My mom was a cleaner and then an educational assistant. Like we are like hands in the mud kind of people. So I'm fascinated with the people that got their hands dirty in
Yeah.
building space, right?
Yeah,
So there's a
exactly.
lot tied into this.
100%.
And they're really beautiful. I mean, I think they're beautiful. I'm pretty picky about my own work, but other people have said they're beautiful too. So I'm basing it on what they say.
There you go.
But I'm actually, I'm really proud of the work, and I'm proud of the work that TimberBeast has created. We're
Yeah.
really trying to bring meaningful conversation about community
Yeah.
and collective story to a place where there isn't a lot of that. I mean, we get a lot of touring shows uh,
Yes.
and things like that, but we don't get anyone writing about this place and the people that inhabit it, past and present.
Yeah.
So that's really what we're dedicated to.
No, and I love that. And that's like, and when I first, started hearing about the work you were doing and how you're trying to tell the stories, starting in Gravenhurst because your hometown, but then also Muskoka as a whole. And trying to tell those stories in like a creative, fun fashion, emotional and dramatic when it needs to be and whatnot. I mean, you're right. That's the cool thing to do because we get everything else from other perspectives, and the only real perspectives you're getting is from writers, media people, and that's the only way to tell our stories is to do it. And I love that you're doing it in a more creative fashion than just kind of a newsy fashion, because you're actually, you're having fun with it and you're delving deep into the emotions behind things. And it's not just here's a record of what took place, right? So
Yeah, we're bringing the records to life.
there you go.
What we're doing, we're animating history,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
I mean, the pieces are based on, local lore and local ghost stories, right?
Yes.
That have come from multiple different sources. But,
Yes.
there's a fiction, I mean, there's the narrative craft around them is fictional
Yes.
and based from, my writing perspective. I mean, no one's actually had conversations with the ghost to figure out, who they were, I guess.
No. Yeah.
But so I guess it's all fiction from a
Yes.
living perspective. But
Yeah.
yeah, they're interesting pieces. And the music is composed by Justin Hiscox, who
Hmm.
is a brilliant composer. I mean, he
Nice.
does all of the work for Fourth Line Theater. So his practice is rooted in crafting community through music.
Nice.
And he really is a genius and very underrated. He was nominated for he was actually a finalist for the Great American Songbook
Oh,
this year. Yeah,
very
like
cool.
he'll never talk about it because he's a really modest guy, but he's like the music really is it's haunting. So
Yes,
it's perfect. Like
that's
he's
awesome.
crafted a beautiful score, and we have brilliant collaborators coming to join us. I mean, we have, three people from Citronella, four people from Citronella joining us.
Yeah.
I have collaborators. Justin's brother Mark is coming, and he was in the original piece last year. He's also in my
Nice.
Christmas Carol. He's a phenomenal artist.
Awesome.
Worked prolifically for Fourth Line Theater as well. And I have just great collaborators. I have one community artist that I keep using because he's just so soulful in the work, Earl Sacre.
Yeah.
And so, as we grow, I'd like to create more of a hybrid model and use more community members.
Yes.
That's something that I'm gearing towards, but it's kind of if you build it, they will come, hopefully, kind of
Yes. A hundred
idea right
percent.
now.
100%.
Um, so, this is a story about us.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping people will come see us and support the building of a professional theater company in the area.
I think they will. I think the more the cool work you do, the more we get it out there, the cool work you're doing, and
Thanks.
just the awesome community work you're doing, we'll get more people through those doors and at those shows that you're doing all over. On that note, let's tell everyone the dates. So Gravenhurst, Bracebridge, Huntsville. What are the dates?
So Gravenhurst, I'm going to look at my poster because there's a lot going on in the brain right now. So Gravenhurst is at the mortuary, Gravenhurst
Yes.
Mortuary,
Yes.
which is on the corner of Muskoka Road North.
Yeah.
And I think it's Lone Pine Drive. Or Pine Ridge. Anyway, it's right at the base of Mickle Cemetery.
Okay. Perfect.
And it's a beautiful old stone chapel on a
Yep.
hill. You can't
Perfect.
miss it. You
Okay.
can't miss it. It's October 26th to 28th. There are
Awesome.
2 shows per night, one at 7 and one at 8:30.
Perfect.
Okay. Bracebridge is at Inn at the Falls.
Yeah.
There are some stairs, so if accessibility is an issue,
Okay.
let us know in advance. We'll try to find a way. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
It's November 2nd to 4th
Yeah.
at 8 p.m.
Perfect.
Now, those 2 shows both have chairs provided.
Perfect.
The last show does not. It's bring your own chair situation.
Okay.
Because it's at Muskoka Heritage Place. There might
Gotcha.
be some picnic tables. I just don't know how comfortable those will be. And it's November 9th to 11th.
Perfect.
And it will be the ticket entrance where you get your tickets at
Yes.
the, I don't know directions.
It's right. Yes. There's 2. So there's one at one side off of Brunel Road near the high school parking lot.
That
And then
one.
there's the other side that's off of Forbes Hill Drive.
Don't go to
Um,
that one.
you
Go to
walk.
the first one
Okay.
near the high school.
Perfect.
Off
That's the
Brunel.
one.
That's the one.
Got it.
The main ticketing office where you go through and you buy your tickets.
There. Yeah.
And then
So that's the
we'll
one.
go through, yeah, and then we'll go through the door because there's a really beautiful path leading up to the Spence Hotel.
Lovely.
And it is November 9th to 11th at
Perfect.
7 p.m.
Perfect.
And we suggest for parts 2 and 3 that you dress super warm.
Yeah.
It's outside. I mean, why would you do a haunted play inside? Let's not be ridiculous.
Exactly. You want it to be outside with the creaks and the sounds and the everything.
That's right. We want it to be a chilly experience.
Love
exactly.
it.
And it's so you can buy a 3-part passport.
Okay, cool.
For $80. And
Nice.
it's quite good, like $27 per show, per show, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Or you can come to one show for $30.
Perfect. Perfect.
And then they just everything is done through email. So it's TimberBeastProductions@gmail.com.
Yep.
You can reserve there.
Yep.
Everything's done by e-transfer or cash at door.
Perfect.
And we go from there.
Awesome. I love it, Autumn.
No tickets, no issues with sustainability or the environment.
No, straight up. This is what you're doing. Your name's on the list and rock and roll from there. I love it.
Rock and roll. Yeah.
I love it. So we've got about 4.5 minutes left. Can you believe how fast that went? That's crazy.
I'm a chatter.
I love it. So that's why I was like, Autumn's the perfect first guest for this show. I knew we could just talk about stuff and have some fun talking about stuff.
I mean, we could make it a 2-part episode if you want, but
well, I'm going to bring you back because later we'll do one at a time.
I love it.
So we've talked a bit about what TimberBeast Productions is. We talked about the upcoming shows, Souls of the Shield, Souls with an S.
Yes.
We talked about how people can get tickets. When I do my post on the website, there will be the links to where people need to go to and whatnot and all that good stuff. But for anyone watching on your TV, we got to make sure we told them about it. Or anyone just listening to the audio, make sure we told them about it. So what's up next? So you got these Souls of the Shield. I know you always have some really cool stuff on the go. Do you have something coming up for after that? A little teaser.
Yes. I mean, we're continuing our murder mystery at Inn at the Falls, which is written specifically for the inn.
Cool.
It's called the Mahaffey Murder Mysteries,
Nice.
based on Judge Mahaffey, who was one of the first owners.
Okay, perfect.
But then I'm writing a new piece. I'm actually taking a little bit of a hiatus from our Gravenhurst Christmas Carol. We've
Okay.
done it for 2 years, so now we're just gonna give it a rest
Okay.
so we can build momentum and do a much bigger version next year.
I like it.
Yeah, this year I'm planning on writing a two-handed play about the Christmas truce of 1914.
Oh,
So there will be a Canadian perspective and a German perspective, which is timely, especially in Gravenhurst, given our history with the Nazi internment camp.
yes.
And it's a staggering story about hope in a hopeless time.
Cool.
So I'm doing that.
Yes.
And we're going to do a benefit reading of Gravenhurst Christmas Carol on December 23rd. So it's coming back for one night, but it's not
Yes.
going to be walking or anything like that. It's just going to be a special, this is what we're doing. Come listen to the story, come share in music. It'll all be candlelight. It'll be quite beautiful.
I like it.
And the money will be a benefit for one of our local organizations.
Perfect. Perfect. And you and I can talk more about that. We can do a little story preview once that's getting closer to the date in December. Yeah, because I love doing that kind of stuff anyways. So it's all about community stuff. And that's why we get along so well, because we're both really community oriented in what we try to do. So that's what I love about it, right? So so we're almost done the show. We're almost done for our closing. I love it. First show, Your TV, Autumn Smith, TimberBeast Productions. Everyone watching at home, thank you for watching. Don't forget, hit up Autumn, TimberBeast Productions at gmail.com. That's the right address?
Yep.
Perfect. That's right. Hit it up. Hit up these shows. They're going to be fun, haunting shows. Even if you don't like ghost stories or you don't believe in ghosts, just support local production and theater production companies and local artists doing local stuff. Like just do it for that. Do it to support your community. And so before we go, we're gonna have to do all our thank yous. Obviously, thank you to Autumn, thank you to TimberBeast, thank you to Your TV for partnering with Muskoka Unlimited to do the Muskoka Unlimited podcast. I've been your host, Chris O'Cutie, as always. Unless I get sick and then someone else will have to do it. But we also have to mention thank you to our October and November podcast sponsor, That Little Place by the Lights in downtown Huntsville. Thank you all. If you need anything more, MuskokaUnlimited.com, Your TV, TimberBeast Productions. Peace out. We're out.